I feel like 2020, at least what those in like the circles I kind of move in, it wasn't anything new. It just proved what we already knew what was going on. Like it exacerbated problems that sort of already existed. The way I've been thinking about it is like this. It's deadly on both ends, right? If you overcomplicate the simple and if you oversimplify the complicated. I think in a lot of ways, we were looking for a simple answer going into 2020. Racism will end. We can all go back to brunch once the president is changed, right? As we thought, you know what I'm saying? Like it's just that simple. Or, you know, police brutality happens, George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, and a myriad of other, you know, black people were murdered in the streets by the hands of the officers. And then the whole country went to the streets and we thought, oh, there it is. We're done. It's fixed. That's when you oversimplify the complicated. I think on the other end, if you overcomplicate the simple, like one would think surely a deadly virus that is ravishing the whole world would shake us out of our silos, right? Surely the death of hundreds of thousands, dare I say it, millions of people would end a lot of our infighting. I thought that was pretty simple, but I think we begin to overcomplicate the way that we thought about it. To me, it was super easy. If a deadly disease come out of your nose and mouth and go into somebody else's nose and mouth, you should cover your nose and mouth. It just seemed really simple to me. I don't see these as political statements. I don't see these as like issues of justice or I just feel like I don't want to get sick. So to me, I felt like there were holes and ditches in both of these things when you overcomplicate the simple and when you oversimplify the complicated. Racism, as it got exposed this year, was something that people of color obviously have been existed in and understood for a very long time. This has just been the way that we've moved through our country. And in a lot of ways, as it played out in the most obvious ways, which was, you know, the death of George Floyd, but then in the more nuanced ways, in the equal access to healthcare, in the fact that like certain cities, specifically Los Angeles being a hotbed for like a high intensity of cases, because we have a lot of essential workers here. You know, we got a lot of working class people. We have a very high homeless population. So of course our numbers are gonna be high because there's a lot of extreme wealth gap. You feel me? So it's just like, which was something that was like, I mean, duh, like we all knew this. You know what I mean? Like we all knew this was here. But I think it made us think that maybe we were gonna finally reach a reckoning. And I know I found myself really oscillating back and forth because I found myself fighting the same fight my daddy did. And my father was a Black Panther. I'm like, how am I out here protesting the same stuff my father, like it's generations ago? So I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what to do. And in the middle of this global pandemic, the part that like really bug me out about America was somehow or another, our national arrogance made our zeitgeist believe that this was a weapon to take out our president, that the whole world finna die because they mad at one president. And I'm like, y'all, what is we talking about here? What? How do we get here? All right, look, if we not careful, you know, Mars be just another gold rush, another pre-Columbian America, scraping, raping, scratching, gouging, making up lines, then screaming mine into newly formed oxygen, tapping planetary veins in search of arrogance in the form of rocks, imaginary wealth. You know, the real millionaires of the gold rush were the shovel salesmen. I think we going about this all wrong. Mars finna be another East India Trading Co. Spilling Mars spices across the most pristine of spacescapes till someone starts a war over shit that just come out the ground. Because somebody used what come out the ground to buy the ground. You wrong, Mom. Money does grow on trees. Money is trees. We just ain't getting none because they chopped them all down to build their cathedrals before me and you could get out the nigga quarters. Listen, I'm not salty. Hell, salt for sale too. Are we finna act like Standing Rock protesters weren't absolutely correct? Lakota water sources stained in earth, blood. History got bars. Rhyming like a mug, but if we not careful, our relationships, just another gold rush. People as property, transaction, informational. If we not careful, our marriages, just another gold rush. People for identity, for satiation, for urges, for satisfaction. It's been my finding. We are much better with crisis than we are warning, and I am really unsure about the first part. But if the Visa ever got versed, it would body that beat. You know, if we not careful, our own selves, just another gold rush. You too busy taking advantage of you to even enjoy you, to realize that the proverbial F's to give are a fossil fuel, a non-renewable resource. Yes, there's enough to go around, but where is your code? When's the last time you told somebody no when the bag was oh so yes? Why are there bits of you floating around the stock market and the flea market? You couldn't bring your full self to a moment even if you tried. If we not careful, we don't learn to take care. We may not see that Earth as Mars will probably be fine. But you need a break. And although we are honored to be in your presence and you owe us nothing, we are just proud to be a part of your orbit. What I think it revealed, which was something that, again, that like, as a person of color, I was already well aware of, is that the church is just most likely, and almost most of the time, just a smaller reflection of the culture as a whole. The culture's divided, the church is divided, because the church is just made up of citizens of the culture. Like, we like to say that we aliens, we like to say we not of this world, but nah, homie, we the same humans, you know? So I think if you ask me like about the heart of God, where the church was, I mean, the church was doing the exact same thing the rest of the country was, cause they the same people. It's not a different set of humans, you feel me? It, again, revealed what we already knew, that we've sold our name, our witness to a nation, to a nationality. It's a voter block. And nobody want to admit it. You know what I'm saying? Unless you outside of that voter block. I remember a long time ago during when Trayvon Martin passed, you know, we was out in the streets because it was a terrible situation. Church arguing about multi-site churches, about whether it was okay to have a pastor on camera. Like, fam, what? That's what you worried about right now? Right now, you trying to tell me that your God subscribes to a political party. That's what you're trying to tell me right now. So that would mean that God is American, right? And understands politics as they only pertain for the last 50 to 100 years. Because for God to subscribe to one of these political parties, that means that's a pretty young God if it only exists in one of these silos. So to me, it's like, yo, this is the reckoning. I'm like, look, man, what's your kingdom? 2020 told me exactly what your kingdom was. All that to say, that wasn't something that, again, those of us who found ourselves outside the fence didn't already know was happening. You know what I'm saying? Even right here in LA, they was trying to throw this big old revival out here down in Skid Row. You throwing revival in Skid Row. I'm like, my man Q, he has a church in Skid Row, but not like that ministers to the homeless. No, they are all homeless. There is no walls. The church is the corner of state. And so like it's the church is the homeless. You know what I'm saying? He been down here 10, 15 years. Church been active. We just not a part of that conversation. You feel me? So in my mind, if you asking me about where the heart of God was or where the church was, first of all, in my opinion, they was on two different planets. The heart of God and the heart of the church. They was on two different planets. I don't have a theology for you. I don't have an answer for you. I don't know. I don't find it oppressive that our churches had to Zoom. It's a pandemic. Like, that's not I don't know what to say, man. Like, I don't know what to say. I think 2020 basically said the quiet thing out loud. That's what I feel like 2020 did. 2020 said the quiet thing out loud. Yeah, so when the construct failure, that ailment feels alien. What is this air we in? How is this fail to kin? Listen, when you a shark being judged on how well you climb a tree, you might as well be a piece of kelp yelping at a blue whale helpless. A toothless tiger with a ruthless ire. And I almost talk me out of my own desires. You try to tell them you different. You made for magnificent, but those with lungs don't get the gill significance. I'm a still standing stanza, circumference of your comfort. You want to stay that? Then don't invite me to your conference. I'm a speaker to the people defeating they conquistadors. Telegraphing no moves, what these blinkers for. My great grandmammy, she Manston Manchu Pichu. Consider that an honor if she even stooped to speak to you, the least of you. You would be surprised what 2 feet could do. Mission, vision, execute. I don't know what we meeting for. A couple L's will teach you more than any war or liquor store, and you don't need a penny more to mature. This is just to disrupt othering. Look across the table in their eyes and see your own suffering. People are just people. And if this is all we got, then all we got is this, and this is just it. Then let's live the best of it. I suggest a redo. All we do is see through. War is beneath you. And none of this will sink in until we all learn to scream, I need you. And when God finally speaks, I bet it'll be through people. My mom used to say, you know, don't nothing God do go to waste. That was one of my mom's little phrases. I feel like that about a year period, you know. What I really appreciate about 2020, and I know it's weird to phrase something like that, but like, I think 2 big things. One is it taught us really just how connected we actually are. It revealed what was already there, which is we are really that connected. But we connected, like we're literally in this together. And I think that was one of the beautiful things for us. And also, I know in my life, it made me pause for a second, learn how to take a deep breath, to appreciate the moment, you know, and to live in the moment. I couldn't go nowhere. You know what I'm saying? My wife says, you know, culture can only be as healed as we are. That's something my wife says, and I'm like, it was time to work on not only this big macro healing biologically of the world, culturally because of like issues of racism and faith and all this good stuff, but then even personally, like, yo, we was overworking ourselves. You know what I'm saying? Like, 2020 was like, hey, homie, sit down for a second. Y'all need to sit down. You feel me? Obviously not to like minimize the millions of deaths across the world. That's not what I'm trying to say, of course. But I think lastly, the biggest thing for me is that it became so obvious, something that I'm very passionate about, that culture is not something other than us. We are it. We make it up. All of our systems, all of our infrastructures, all of these things, our governmental structures, communist, Democrat, Republican, socialist, we made it up. Capitalists, we made it up. Our borders, they're made up. They're imaginary lines. They're really not on the ground. The earth really don't work that way. So all of our institutions are made up. And if our institutions are not working, or only working for some of us, then let's make up new ones. We can, guys, I can't stress this enough. We made it up. And the hopeful thing for me is the fact that if that's the case, then let's make it better. Let's imagine a better world. Let's imagine a more loving world, a more connected world, a world that honestly, hey, esteems our brother higher than ourselves. A world that says, I don't know the words of Jesus, love my neighbor as myself. I don't love my country as myself. I love my neighbor as myself. Yo, while you out here working, summertime, Long Beach, might go kite surfing. Jameson and ginger ale came in with intent to kill, diss him or dismiss it as a coping mechanism. But this single Lord and Yurgachef, better that than Percocet. The course is a grind, mine's more or less a poor Lex. I ain't the safe one, I ain't the faked one, I ain't the one to hold my tongue when the opposition come. But I be working on my patience though. Holidays and weekends, attitude adjustments just needs a little tweaking. And I'm leaving my last season for reason to believe we can keep truth speaking if I could control my tweeting. And I know I'm not the only that's knowing he's straight phony. You can notice me quoting these holy scripture like he know me, but I've grown a little since dig. Here's my hope, boy, don't hold me accountable. Hold me close. You gotta keep marching. Stand for your kin, even though sometimes bullies do win, and sometimes cheaters do prosper, and squeaky wheel turns the tide, and the rolls of change come crashing for sure. Lord help us, we drowning in a sea of benefits. Equality's oppression if all you know is privilege. Power by definition suppresses another mission. You only on top by taking somebody's spot. Listen. And with no stones thrown, I be holding my inhibition. Hope if this new protest proves wrong my premonitions. But let the base of my message stand upright and fretless and pluck the deepest part of your heartstrings, blessed. If all of this is made up, then let's make it better. Let's imagine a better future. Let's form a world that's more livable. That's livable not just for me or the few that have access to things, but livable for all of us. You know, and let this be a reflection of ourselves. Let us look ourselves in the mirror, take an honest look at ourselves and say, hey, am I creating a lovable world for the people around me? And how can I imagine a better future for everyone? Let's just make culture better.